In the fall of 2001, Alice, a young teenager, starts to experience the crests and troughs of puberty. She studies at Midwestern Co-ed Catholic School, an institution governed by strict disciplinarians and set dogmas. The topic of physical intimacy is also not discussed in a straightforward manner. Rather, euphemistic examples like modern and conventional ovens to describe the male and female libidos are used. During one such lecture on morality, Father Murphy stresses marriage as the sacrament and the basis of indulgence in any kind of sexual activity, with the only intent of procreation, and any such activity performed outside such sacrament is punished by damnation for all eternity. However, when Alice tries to have a heart-to-heart conversation about activities she thinks wouldn't send her down the path of sin, with her friend Laura, who is highly influenced by the school's teachings, she calls it gross, and Alice relents from sharing further. When back home, Alice turns to AOL chat room for trivia, but when she gets an explicit image in an anonymous message, curiosity gets the best of her, and she soon starts chatting with the unknown sender. He manages to convince her to send him her picture, but she sends her friend's picture instead, and the conversation soon turns into an adult chat, a reason which will lead to the existence of parent restrictions in the future. As she starts exploring herself, stepping into uncharted areas and feelings, her mom's voice calling her for dinner impedes her journey. The following Monday, every corner of the school is buzzing with a rumor that Alice tossed the salad of a classmate, Wade, at Laura's party over the weekend. Alice denies the hearsay and even explains that she is not even familiar with the phrase. The rumor soon reaches Mrs. Veda, the school's disciplinarian, who stops Alice from being the gift bearer at the Mass and advises her to treat her body with respect. All of which goes above Alice's head, as she doesn't even have a clue what Mrs. Veda is talking about. Later that day, during the sacrament of reconciliation, Alice confesses her sins to Father Murphy, deliberately avoiding the AOL chat incident, and receives a light penance of 20 prayers and washing dishes at home for a week. Alice immediately fulfills her atonement by vehemently praying in the school's chapel, all the while Father Murphy and Mrs. Veda's words echoing in her mind. Alice and Laura both decide to attend the school's spiritual retreat called Kirkos in the hopes of attaining conscientiousness and being able to become part of the popular girls group at school. Once they reach the location, Alice meets Chris, the school's football team's captain, and instantly falls for his good looks and welcoming nature. She even pictures running her fingers through his arm hair, but her trance is broken when Nina, a popular girl at school, idolized by Laura, greets and hugs her, telling Alice she will be sharing a cabin with her. Alice is shown her room, and as per the instructions, they need to deposit their watches and cell phones. Alice decides to keep her phone and lies she doesn't possess one. Alice is assigned to Chris's group, and his warm nature quickly makes Alice feel at ease in his presence. Later at night, Alice is unable to sleep, so to pass the time, she starts playing a game on her cell phone. But suddenly, it starts making loud beeping sounds, and to suppress it, Alice hides it between her thighs and discovers how the cell phone vibrations tingle her in places she never thought could feel so intense, but stops when she sees the crucifix hanging in her room. The next day, while walking through the woods, Alice fakes an injury to be closer to Chris, and it plays out better than she had anticipated as Chris carries her to the nurse's office. After being treated, Alice returns to her room, and Nina comes in to invite her for a group photograph, but she hears Alice's phone vibrate and confiscates it. Father Murphy is intimated about the confiscation, and as a punishment, Alice is put on the cleaning duties in the cafeteria of the retreat. After she's done cleaning, she keeps the supplies back in the storeroom, and as she is about to leave, she spots Father Murphy's computer in his office. She decides to log into the AOL chat box to ask the meaning of tossing the salad, but the conversation takes an explicit turn, and upon hearing footsteps, Alice turns off the computer in haste and walks out of the office. Once outside, Alice is greeted by Nina, who lightheartedly brings the rumor about Alice into their conversation and sends her on a guilt trip. The rumor seems to haunt Alice. No matter how much she tries to deny or run away from it, there is always someone reminding her of it. The next morning at breakfast, Father Murphy announces that he found the explicit chat on his computer and asks whoever did it to confess, but no one takes responsibility. Later, at individual sessions of students with Father Murphy, Alice is forced by Father Murphy to confess to acting on her temptation with Wade and doesn't believe Alice when she denies anything ever happening between them. Alice confronts Wade about spreading the rumor, and because he is not even denying it, it is causing Alice to be subjected to mockery, even by the teachers. But Father Murphy interrupts their conversation as he pulls Wade aside, and Alice finds Wade's bracelet in the trash that he just dumped in the trash can. While cleaning the kitchen area, through the window, Alice sees Nina making out and then filleting another senior. She later tells Lauren about what she saw in the woods, but Lauren doesn't believe her and accuses her of making things up. She also accuses Alice of breaking into Father Murphy's office and ends her friendship with her after calling her a pervy psycho. Alice is deeply hurt, but she doesn't say anything and leaves. Later, Alice decides to frame Wade for breaking into the office by planting his bracelet she had found the other day because she lost her friends and was subjected to constant taunting by her classmates because of a baseless rumor for which Wade never apologized or tried to make it right. As she swiftly makes her way out of the office, she witnesses Father Murphy pleasuring himself while watching an erotic video on his computer. Alice walks outside, lost and confused about all the things being taught to them at school when she meets Chris. Seeing her agitated, Chris offers to talk and they sit on the bench alone, but instead, Alice kisses him. And for a few seconds, he kisses her back, but then is overwhelmed by what just happened, as well as what is happening below his waist, and runs away without saying anything. That night at the bonfire, Alice can't take any more of this facade that each one of them present is putting on and flees the campgrounds. She walks alone in the dark till she reaches a lesbian bar and walks in to order a beer. The bar owner, Gina, sits next to her and asks if she is from the Catholic retreat, but Alice denies it and lies she's 21 until Gina points at her sweatshirt, which literally reads the retreat. Gina tells her she was a Catholic once, but the punishments in the name of redemption were too much for her. Alice opens up to her and, for the first time, says out loud all the things she has done, which made her think she's going to hell. Gina counsels her on how being restricted in so many ways can lead teenagers to grow into muddled adults who question their orientation. Gina drops Alice to the retreat, and before she leaves, Gina asks if Alice has thought about where she might go to college. Alice is not sure, so Gina advises her to apply to colleges in the East and West Coasts, as it might be good for her to get out of town and explore new cultures. Alice suddenly remembers and asks Gina what tossing someone's salad means. Gina mitigates her curiosity and tells her the meaning of the phrase that has been on Alice's mind for the longest time. Alice can't help but laugh after hearing the meaning and bids farewell to Gina. It is the fourth day at the retreat, and Laura is still not talking to Alice, so Alice shares a table with a socially awkward classmate and befriends her. Meanwhile, Wade is called by Father Murphy while everybody is having their breakfast. Soon, everybody finds out that it was Wade who used Father Murphy's computer. Laura sits next to Alice and apologizes for not believing her, and even suspects the rumor about Alice and Wade must have been cooked by him. They rekindle their friendship, and the group session starts, where the students are asked to share their experiences and what they've learned in these 4 days of living in the retreat. Alice decides to speak her mind and walks to the podium and emphasizes the fact that everybody is hiding stuff, and only if everybody starts being honest and treating each other with respect might they stop feeling guilty about who they are. Mrs. Veda and Father Murphy look astonished after Alice is done speaking, and she leaves the podium knowing some things might not change. Once back at school, Alice runs into Chris, who is awkward as ever and tries to avoid her, but Alice walks to him and assures him they can still be friends. While at reconciliation with Father Murphy, Alice boldly reveals she saw people getting intimate on a video, leaving Father Murphy bewildered at the implication, as he knows well what Alice is talking about. This time, he awards a heavier penance of 100 prayers, but rather than going to the chapel, Alice goes home and replays the intimate scene in Titanic and indulges in sybaritic bliss. And that's a wrap for this movie recap. Thanks for watching.